Sup everyone, welcome back to another video. So with now patch 3.2 going about a week or so, and maybe patch 3.3 is now coming up on the horizon, I want to talk about what Dendro has done for the game. The biggest winners and maybe the biggest losers of the introduction for Dendro. Now, keep in mind, when I say losers, I really just mean that elements that hasn't really seen much change or hasn't really benefited directly from the release of Dendro. Now, that is far and few in between, I know, but when we talk about this topic, we have to really take a magnifying glass and look at exactly what has happened in the game, right? Starting with the biggest beneficiary, like the biggest shift in usage and just general effectiveness in the game. I do believe that Electro is the biggest winner when it comes to the release of Dendro. And if you were to sit here and tell me that Hoyoverse didn't have Electro in mind when designing Dendro, I would say you're completely just out of your mind. I do think a huge factor for the release of Dendro was that they were going to rebalance how the elements were being played, rebalance the power that is being distributed amongst the different elements. And I do think now with the release of Dendro, it's 100% confirmed that Electro was envisioned from the very beginning to be a damage centric element, just like Pyro. But somewhere along the way, I think they maybe didn't find great enough reaction synergies in the traditional elements, so now they end up falling back onto new elements such as Dendro to completely repackage Electro back into the meta. Now, I know this word meta ticks a lot of people off, right? Like, meta this, meta that, like cringe, who the hell cares? But when I say meta, I really just mean leveling the playing field. You could care less about, beating the game and stuff, but when it comes to, let's say, a character such as Yaimiko or a character such as Keqing compared to traditionally a character such as Diluc, when the game just released, because of the power and the scaling that Pyro had through its reactions, it was incredibly difficult for Keqing to rival that of Diluc. And you guys saw it back in the day that most people disregarded Keqing as one of the top tier DPS options. I mean, they said she was good, but nobody really was choosing Keqing over Diluc. If you were to really press them and say who's the better DPS, right, it was always Diluc. But now, let's just not even compare her to Diluc. Let's compare Keqing to someone like Yoimiya, and in most cases, Keqing would, I would say, out DPS Yoimiya in their most optimal team. Now, of course, this is considering they're both at C0, and Keqing, through Nahida and through the Dendro reaction, is just doing so much. Now, here is the thing with Electro Dendro reactions. If you're using Keqing or Yaimiko, these characters, Fischl, the one thing about them is how consistent they are with applying their element, and in turn ends up being very reliable in terms of damage application. You don't really have to worry about ICD too much. Nahida right here is the key to solving a lot of these Electro's original problem. It's because most Electro characters apply a good amount of Electro to the point where it's very difficult for traditional reactions to really take full advantage of it. And also, the element of Electro and its characters oftentimes feel a bit destructive. I mean, Fischl, not really the case, but when it came to Yaimiko, when it came to Keqing, it always felt like that they were knocking mobs around a little too much, and it never felt like the strength of their kit were ever being highlighted. The fast applications and a lot of them having high innate scaling, it just never felt like any of this mattered to the old way that Genshin used to be played. Now, fast forward to now, Dendro just takes all of that stuff. You have good innate scaling, well, we love that. You have fast application, well, don't worry, we can take care of that. You like to knock mobs around, but don't worry, we won't end up leading to that synergy anymore, right? We don't need overload anymore in the meta. Like, nobody really nowadays play overload, and it feels good on one side, being like, wow, look, quicken, spread, aggravate, all this stuff feels so amazing. But at the same time, you look back at overload and look at how outdated of a reaction it is. It does feel a little bittersweet, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people really enjoyed the old way of playing Electro as well. I say a lot, but really I'm just talking about a group of minorities here in the space of Genshin. But nonetheless, I think even people who really enjoy playing Overload and found that to be very unique and fun can appreciate what Dendro has done to Electro. So overall, Electro are just huge winners with the release of Dendro. I think the biggest impact. Now, if you want me to say currently in game are Electro's the best DPS in the game, I wouldn't really say they're the best, but they definitely found a role for themselves in the game, and I'm happy to say that because after years of complaining, making videos, and talking about this stuff, it's great to finally put this to rest that Electro doesn't really need anything anymore, and going forward, new Electro characters, as long as they can lean into the strength of Dendro, I do think they're all going to be decently well-designed characters. But just like all things in life, with winners, there are going to be losers, and for some reason, they used to be talked about in the same realm of incompetency. It's going to be Geo, right? Geo is likely going to be the biggest loser of this Dendro introduction. I don't know why, because I would say some people argue that Geo was even worse of an element than Electro, but it seems like HoYoverse doesn't think that way. I think one of the main reasons HoYoverse didn't do anything for Geo when it comes to Dendro synergies is because Geo already had their mono element team release in Ito. They had a dedicated buffer in Goro, and Geo for the longest time has been scrutinized by HoYoverse and even remodeled their resonance to be more of the stat stick self-buffing type of element. With a character like Zhongli also in that element, it's very dangerous for HoYoverse to create powerful synergies without putting too much emphasis on pre-existing characters. And now maybe in the future a Geo character can come out and through their unique kit design can synergize with the current meta stuff, like maybe Virgin or like stuff like that. But I highly doubt that HoYoverse has Geo on their radar whenever they're considering Dendro addendums. Just imagine this, alright? If you need any more proof, Ito right now at Constellation 6 is arguably top 3 DPS in the game. C6 wise, right? Arguably top 3. He is incredibly strong if you put him in his designated team with all the investment possible towards him. He is incredibly strong. He doesn't have a single reaction going from him. I mean, he's Geo, right? The best he can do is crystallize, and that's saying a lot. So if a character with no reactions can already top the game charts in terms of damage, how much can HoYoverse really put into this element without pushing it over the edge? That's the problem, right? So once you already have a character that's in the game in this state with this kind of damage ceiling, it's pretty damn near impossible to create new synergies for him without it making him just too strong. Now you guys could say, well, some sort of supportive synergy, maybe some sort of quality of life. Well, I don't disagree with that. I think quality of life reactions could really very well be a thing down the line in the future. Now he does hold E, could collect things in the overworld without us really directly interacting with it anymore. That is something, if you told me a year ago, like I think that's something that's straight up out of fan fiction. I don't think that was ever going to happen. So in the future, who's to say that a new unique reaction that is maybe for quality of life can't exist? Stuff like maybe extend your attack range for something like Ito, right? Extending your attack range when you hit a wider area, or let's say something where every time you hit something, you create a small vortex in that area that does no damage but gathers mobs. That's going to be helpful as well. It helps you with setting up for a better damage dealing environment. Now this is some very copium BS that I'm spouting here. I'm just giving you guys some train of thought as they come to me, because I honestly believe that when it comes to HoYoverse, they rather design the game horizontally as opposed to vertically, right? Damage ceilings likely are going to be capped for quite a while. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with Yalan, but hey, just okay, I guess fine. And after that whole debacle, they decided to go and buff Hydro Resonance, essentially raising Yalan's ceiling even higher. So hey, we do definitely have a new ceiling, and I think it's going to stay there for a while. But that's one of the reasons why I don't think Geo can really get any special treatment from HoYoverse right now, because they can't do any more for Geo without potentially making mono Geo teams a little too strong. So now let's circle back to the original question, right? The biggest winner and the biggest loser. Like I say, I use the term loser here to really just put the statement out there, because I don't think there is a loser right now in Genshin Impact. I mean, if I do have to say it, like I said in this video, it's gonna be Geo, but that doesn't mean Geo isn't strong. Geo is one of those characters that you have to hyper invest into, and I'm saying hyper invest into. I'm talking like thousands of dollars. I'm probably talking like $2,500 and beyond worth of primo gems to make this particular element shine like none other, right? But you can also easily invest half of that amount into one single Yalan and just break the entire game. So, you know, even when it comes to hyper investing, they actually lose to Yelan. So it's crazy to say. It's actually crazy to say what kind of game state we're in right now. But regardless of all the anomalies, right, let's just talk about consistent elements, consistent performance. And I have to give the cake to EroticWalruss when it comes to what they've done with Electro. Am I biased to Electro and Keqing? Yeah, maybe just ever so slightly. But with her in this current state, I would even argue that she feels better to play in most cases than Rida national teams. It feels better to play her over some Hu Tao teams, because Hu Tao, remember, is a single target teams, whereas Keqing can do single target now. Like, yes, it's not ideal, it's better if it's grouped, right? But single target, she's not doing too bad either, right? We're talking what, like 35, almost 40k per charge attack, and then her burst probably is doing easily like 70, 80k easily, maybe close to 100k, and that burst is on a very low cooldown combined with very little cost. It's a very spammable burst skill, right? So in total, you're dishing out like close to 200k worth of damage, and that's not including Nahida's Tri Purification and other support DPS, right? Like if you combine everything, maybe 300k per like rotation every 15 seconds. So I think that's pretty decent damage. If that's not decent damage to you, then hey, right, it is what it is. Hu Tao definitely can pull higher damage when it comes to single target, right? Hu Tao's likely able to get close to 1 million every 15-20 seconds. I'm just rough ballpark, okay? Like, because if you're optimizing your team well, Hu Tao should be able to be critting probably 85 to 100 something thousand May price. So when it comes to optimized DPS, definitely Hu Tao still hits a higher ceiling, and even Raiden hyper carry, Ito hyper carry, these teams can definitely still dish out more damage. But all I'm saying is Keqing feels much more comfortable to play now, along with other Electro characters who has seen much more usage in recent times. Yeah, Miko, Fischl, Beidou, all these characters, right? So all in all, it's great to see what dendro has done for the game, and I'm not even touching on all the other elements that dendro has serviced in recent times. Going forward, they're likely going to be doing even more with the release of new dendro characters, because with every single character release, there's going to be a new kit with new synergies and new potentials. All right, thank you guys so much. Comment down below, what element do you think is the biggest winner when it comes to the dendro release? And like I said, there's going to be a loser, so which one is it? What do you think? All right, we're also going to be talking about this likely in the upcoming live stream, as well as I'm going to be reacting to some new videos that people have been sending me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Till then, urge y'all to stay safe and peace. Bye.